Hi everyone, welcome to this episode of the iOS Lead Essentials podcast. Here we discuss the strategies in your journey to become a complete senior iOS developer. My name is Bogdan, I'm a senior iOS developer and lead instructor in the iOS Lead Essentials program, the online training program for iOS developers who want to become complete senior developers. Today our special guest is Riccardo from Italy, an iOS developer and student of the iOS Lead Essentials program. Hi Riccardo.
Hey Bogdan, how are you? Good?
Good. Yeah. Thanks for being available for this podcast.
Thank you. Thank you as well. Thank you as well.
Can you tell us a bit about some of the achievements you reached with the program that we can explore in detail in this discussion?
Yes, for sure. First of all, of course, I'm Riccardo. I'm Italian. I've been an iOS developer for the last 4.5 years now. And yeah, in the last couple of months, I've been working as an iOS developer for a French company. And yeah, regarding the achievement, after I've followed the iOS the lead essential course, I was able to get a promotion to a tech lead position from in that time I was working for a client of my current company of the company at that time. And yeah, I got promoted in that position.
Awesome.
And after that, I was able to change my job and to land an iOS developer position in my current company. That is a French international company. So yeah, that's it pretty much.
Right. So congratulations on
Thank you.
both getting the promotion and then being able to switch jobs. Um,
Yes.
Usually, making those changes is difficult, but also pretty rewarding. So yeah, we'll try to find out more in this discussion, like see how that went for you.
Yes, for sure, for sure. But yeah, it is not easy, indeed. At first, I got the kind of promotion that arrived directly from the client I was working for at the time. So there I was able to work as a tech lead of the team. So helping the team members I was working for to
Right.
you know reviewing maybe some PRs or helping with the developments or with the teams with the estimation of the work to do. And yeah, and then after that, I wanted to join a much more international company working with very talented people. So I decided that since I did follow the course already at the time, I did finish it already. I was ready to do that other, career change, and I've joined that company, and yeah, again, feeling very good. So
Right.
very happy that I've done it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. And I know you also managed to increase your income with that change as well. So yeah,
Yes.
it's an interesting story. So first getting a promotion, then switching to a new job in a company that you wanted to work for. So if
Exactly.
you if the people watching want to achieve a similar thing, just stay until the end because we're trying to decompose Ricardo's journey into replicable steps that you can follow as well to achieve the same.
Yes. Absolutely. As you said, in my last career change, I was able to almost double my salary. So
Wow.
that's a great achievement of my
Yeah.
on my side. Of course, it wasn't so low previously, but of course it is a very interesting achievement, and
Yeah.
I'm very happy about it. Yeah,
Yeah. It
absolutely.
both feels good and it confirms you're on the right track, right?
Yeah,
Because you already
yes.
already achieved quite a few in your career. I mean, usually 5 to 6 years is not long. It's maybe at the beginning of the career, so you already seen quite a few managed to achieve that technical leadership position, which is also very important to develop your soft skills and um, anything related to managing other people's work and how they perform. So yeah, those I think those are incredible achievements to have and to build upon for your future steps in your career. So um, excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, and how'd you find out about us, about the ISKG Essentials program?
Actually, it was a fan of Caio and Mike. I was watching the YouTube videos while I was working in one of my previous company, and then I've seen that they were launching this new program where they would have gone into details regarding a lot of stuff that they covered during the YouTube videos. So maybe in a more structured way. So I've decided to, after a bit of, indecision and confusion, if I had to join or not, if I had to invest my money on that, I've decided, since I've seen from their videos that they were very experienced developers, I've decided to jump into it. Thanks as well to the support of my previous company that helped me with covering part of the program.
Nice.
And yeah, then I jumped into it, and I didn't regret it, basically, because, as I said previously, it helped me, reaching a lot of goals already. So
Yeah,
that's pretty much it.
nice. Yeah, I especially like the part where you got support from your company. I really like when that happens because they understand that as you grow, they grow. So it's it's good, but it doesn't always happen. So it's a situation where I feel, yeah, just appreciating the ones that do, and that's it.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Do you remember be, at the time where you wanted to join and found about the program, what was your developer life like? What issues did you have, or what did you struggle with?
Yes, mainly my mainly struggle was that I felt like a bit stuck in terms of knowledge. I wanted to. I felt like I wasn't able to learn any more things by working at the time where I was, and as well I wasn't able to find any good resources online
Right.
or whatever to improve my skills. So I felt like a cup, and as well, I wasn't working with the focus on quality, and as well also I was doing a bit of overwork to reach the deadlines, to try to deliver the product on time. And so it wasn't with as well with a lot of pressure, so it wasn't the proper way I wanted to work with. And so basically those are the much more important point where I was
Yeah.
struggling with. Um,
Okay.
yeah, mainly that.
Yeah, I think it's clear why working in an environment with a lot of pressure and overtime and things like that can be damaging. Uh, I mean, it I think we can all agree that it leads to suboptimal performance. That's about it. And maybe if you do it for long enough, then you also over burn over you get overtired and just need to take a break or something like that. So it's not scalable. Right? Since we like
No,
to talk about scalability as architects,
exactly.
it's not scalable from a life point of view. So the question I would have, and it might sound like a dumb question, but why do we need to keep progressing? Because I know a lot of people mention like feeling stuck at some point, like I cannot learn anything, I cannot progress. And the first question that pops to mind is, why do you need that? Like, why isn't a career where you just do the same thing from start to end satisfactory or enough? So I'm curious if you find this interesting to talk about or not, because not everybody does. But I for me, it's something that it's always interesting to know.
So basically, why we need a progression
Yeah, why
in
you need
our
a
career?
progression and
Why me? Of course, I love what I do. Basically, yeah. Actually, this is interesting because in the previous company I was working for, um, there wasn't much focus on the progression related to the tech side, but there
right.
was a lot of focus on the management side of the career. So there wasn't a proper track um, to make the developer grow in terms of technical skills. So I was feeling that I was one of those person that I wanted to grow as a tech person, but I wasn't able to do that in that kind of context.
Right.
So I've decided to not accept that basically and saying okay, because I was seeing that a lot of my colleagues were growing in terms of okay, I like to develop, I like to be a programmer, but okay, here the only way to grow is to become some kind of manager on
Manager, yeah.
management or
Yeah.
going to manage people, and I didn't accept it because I was like, okay, I don't trust the fact that in all the company it is like that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to study. I'm going to join a program, and I found, of course, iOS Lead Essentials. And it was like, okay, I want to improve as a developer, as a tech person, and I would like to join um, tech company that trust and trust developers and want those to improve and progress in what they want to do, and they are not forced to change the career ladder just
Yeah.
because it is what the company is expecting from those people.
No.
So for me was something like that, and now I'm progressing as a tech person, and I'm very happy to do that basically.
Excellent. I can totally relate to your story because I kind of have a similar approach. I guess most of the developers do. Like when you start to be proficient at your development tasks, if you're working in a big company, somebody says, okay, you seem like you are going towards a management position. And I just feel I felt it's wrong back then, but now I feel it's even more wrong because you just got better at your development skills. So instead of harvesting these, you say, okay, switch to a different job, like that has almost nothing to do with development, just because you are a bit outstanding. So but I went to the same progression because at that point I felt like, okay, there's not much more to learn technically. So of course management is the next natural progression to do. But nowadays I look back, and I've been doing this for many years now, I still see a lot of room to grow technically. And I feel what you said, because I also like to grow on this area. There's so many things, many techniques, so many uh, patterns and solutions, and like just being more skilled at doing different technical tasks. And uh, yeah, it's a whole universe just here. So I understand a person like you that likes what they do. I see you like what you do technically. You like the challenge. So do I. So maybe for us, it's better to seek these opportunities to grow technically, as opposed to just reaching a manager position and uh, whatever. I don't want to be condescending on managers because they're important and anything, but not everybody should be one. So yeah, it's nice to see that you found the environment where you could, I don't know, grow in the direction you wanted to grow in. So that's
Yeah,
super interesting.
yeah.
Awesome.
They are betting on us as developer. You have the choice, of course, and maybe, as you said, in some point of your career, you want to be a manager
Yeah,
as a tech person. Why not? But at least you have the choice, and you are
yeah,
both valuable as a tech person or as a manager person, kind of. So
yeah,
uh, those are both important parts of a company.
totally.
Yeah, yeah,
Just that for me, since I maybe discovered that you can be very very good at something, it's in my mind it's a bit harder to be good at both. So you're super strong technically and very good with management, because they have different skills. I mean, some of the skills can be transported from one to the other side, but other than that, you can dedicate a whole career on one vertical and just keep improving there. Whereas when you do both, I'm not saying it's not possible. Like some people do it and they're successful with it. It's just maybe for me it doesn't work that that well. So I don't know. It's a person by person decision. So,
for sure, for sure. But it's
but
better, also in my opinion, to be a much more complete person,
yeah,
to know a bit both of those areas, because once you grow, it's also important at some point to have a good balance in terms of
no,
skills.
totally. I mean, whichever direction you choose, you still need some of the skills from the other side. It's not, they're not exclusive. You cannot be an extraordinary developer and don't know basic management principles, because then you're not an extraordinary developer. You don't fit well in the team. You don't understand how you work in the bigger picture and all of that. So yeah, I understand.
Exactly,
But
exactly.
for me, the biggest takeaway from what you said, and for maybe people that are in the beginning of their career, is just knowing that you can choose. So you can follow whatever you feel is more better suited for you,
Yeah,
right? That's important, because some people don't know that, and they're convinced by whatever the company needs, not what they need. So
exactly. And in my opinion, you can also switch once you maybe during your career, maybe you understand that
yeah,
you want to switch from tech to management side, or vice versa.
yeah,
It's fine. It's about knowing yourself. It's understanding what you prefer to do, and
yeah,
that can change from time to time. That can change.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's very good advice. I remember getting a similar advice from a very experienced developer at some point. who told me just try different things and see what works for you. Like, he told me like just like write about something, try a management position, try working remotely, like contracting and being hired. Like try all these variations in your career and see where you feel most better suited for. Because I think it's important, like from also from what you said, is if you don't try something, you know have no idea how you will like or dislike that setup. So yeah, it's good to be able to have all these options available. Cool,
Totally agree. Yes.
cool. Okay, so going back to our discussion, like we were talking about some of the struggles you had before joining the program, and yeah, I guess next was the decision to join. Um, Can you share with us how you, I mean, you partially mentioned that you kind of outweighed if you should or should not, and decided to join anyway, that you got your company's support for it. So yeah, I guess that's pretty clear on how you decided. Um, any other second thoughts you had or concerns?
Yeah, of course. I was like, I'm gonna waste my money. That was my very first question, my first doubt, because of course, I didn't have. Yeah, actually, I also I think I had like a trial period or something, but yeah, at first I was just thinking about, okay, that's a huge investment. I wasn't actually sure that my company would have helped me in that
Right,
specific moment. So I was like, okay, if I had to put all the money from my pockets, is it worth it? And stuff like that. Um, I think I rewatched also the YouTube videos to try to understand if the concepts were interesting to me. And then I just trusted the guys. I trusted Caio and Mike. I simply trust also myself that I was looking. They were looking good while explaining things. The the topics were very interesting and also very concrete and pragmatic as
right,
well. So I decided to jump, and of course it was a right call for sure.
right,
Because then one thing that I didn't mention is that I was able um, to of course improve technically, support and mentoring others maybe in few occasions, and as well it was very helpful to succeed at interviews, because after the course I've applied 2 to 3 companies to do the interview. And technically speaking, I was able to pass all of those, and I was able to get an offer from 2 of those 3. One of those didn't went well for other topics, but I felt the improvement. I say every time, I don't know if without the course I would have been able to pass the interviews, and as well to join my current company, for example.
right.
So it was a very great boost, in my opinion. But who knows, of course. Um, that's what I think, knowing myself, of course. So
Awesome.
um,
Oh, I noticed a few things in what you said. First, I really like this idea you mentioned that when you join the program and it goes with any big investment you make, you trust whoever's representing that. So in this case, Kai and Mike. And yeah, it's an important decision, but it turned out well. But what I liked and is that you said you also need to trust yourself. So
Yeah.
it's it's a maybe a contract with your future self that, hey, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna spend my hours and finish the, this program that I'm purchasing. Otherwise I'm just throwing away my savings. So very, very nice idea that you also need to trust yourself when you make a purchase like this. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I like
for
it.
sure. As Caio and Mike said, it's about you. You cannot just invest money, join the course, and that's it.
Yeah,
You're gonna achieve a lot of stuff. You have to
exactly.
put energies and all of yourself, and
Yeah,
that's what I did basically. So yes, exactly. I had to trust myself.
nice.
But I I I wanted really to achieve something. So first of all, you have to have like some kind of fire inside you. You
Yeah,
you 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 need to have that kind of energy to achieve something for sure, for sure.
nice. Yeah. I also agree with this. If you don't have that desire, that I wouldn't say more than motivation, maybe the discipline to do something for a longer period of time, is similar to maybe a lot of people joining the gym on January 1st, and then by February they stop because it's too hard or something like that. So whenever you make investments like this, it's important to know yourself and to be able to push through uh, maybe some periods where you don't have that much internal motivation, or maybe you're overwhelmed with what other tasks in your life. Good.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of good advice here in
Yeah.
this.
Mm, Maybe one other thing that I can share that is interesting is that at that time when I was following the course, uh, when I was watching like football matches, or football related
Calcio,
stuff, I
huh?
was like, yes, exactly, calcio in Italian. I was like, okay, but why professional players do have trainers and they trains every day? We are professional as well,
Yeah,
so we do need to have like a guidance or a trainer.
yeah,
It is difficult to be trainer of ourselves. Like football players does not train by themselves. They, they
yeah,
they have a trainer. So we do need to have the same thing basically.
yeah,
I found that concept very, very important, and of course I had to do the trainings with the trainers that at the time were the online course. And I took him in that way, and it worked. I need to put in practice discipline, as you said. So practicing constantly, day after day. So I prefer to, as Caio and Mike suggested, to practice 1 hour or 2 hours per day instead of like doing 8 hours just the weekend. It is not going to scale
right.
for the future, because you have to create like a constant pace, a rhythm, and in that way it worked for me. And in that way it worked. I just keep adding bit after bit every day,
That's it.
creating a rhythm and learning a lot of stuff. Um, that was huge. Yeah,
That's it. Excellent. And I also noticed something a few minutes ago, and I want to get back to that because I think it's another
yeah,
important lesson there.
yeah,
You mentioned about going to interviews with, you mentioned 3 companies, passing all the tech interviews and getting offers from 2 of them, one unrelated to the technical side, and then finally choosing um, one one of them as your current position, current employer. And what I want to underline here is, and I've seen this with other people, if you just interview with one company, you're kind of limiting your options. So I also see that perspective here. Okay, I talk to 3 companies, go through the process, and then I'm able to choose between at least 2 offers, see what fits me better, if the team is what I want it to be, everything in the package and all of that. I think it's a more mature way of going after your next position as opposed to just interviewing you with one, and if you fail, then that's it. End of story. If you get an offer, you have nothing to compare against, so you're putting yourself in a tougher spot. I'm not saying that doesn't work, because if you really want to work for a company and it's your dream company, then yeah, go ahead and do that. But if not, it's maybe a better idea to expand your search a bit like you did. So I really like this approach. Not too many, so not 20, being crazy busy with interviews and discussions and everything, but still having some options. So yeah, very nice.
Yeah. Yeah, at the time it wasn't actually three in the same, in the same period. It was like the first one where it didn't well, and that's okay. I had to start over again, but
Right.
with all my package of knowledge already there, I just needed to practice a bit. It was my very first, interview, and technically went very well. But for other, behavioral reasons, I wasn't a great fit. But that's okay. That's life. Can happen. And then I was like, okay, I've managed to do one. Okay, let's try to do, 2 interviews at the same time to create, as you said, some other perspective, a wider area of, of possibilities. It was very hard because it is hard to actually, I was working at the time. So I was working and trying to attending 2 different interview flows, with 2 different companies. But it paid off at the end because I had to choose because I get 2 different offers and I was able to choose the best for me and not being forced by just one. So that's better if you can. It's better for sure.
Yeah.
But it's not easy to manage for sure. It is not.
No, totally. I mean, if you're really going for it, then you put all your energy into each of these processes, and there's only a few you can manage at the same time.
Exactly.
So you mentioned spending like constantly 1 hour a day or maybe more on the lectures. How long did it take to finish the program at this pace?
It took a lot because I went very slowly. I have to be honest, because as I said, I went for like 1 hour and a half, pretty much all the days. Not every days because I had other stuff to do.
Yeah.
Also maintaining my mental health with sports and stuff. That you need to do that, but I try to balance things, and it took like 6 to 7 months actually to finish the whole program once, so for the first time. And yeah, if I'm not wrong, yeah, I managed to follow all the course, and meanwhile try to replicate what Caio and Mike were doing in the lectures.
Right.
And I was able to complete it a second time while trying to practice the all the concepts in a kind of personal projects that was um, similar in terms of architecture and the way of working, but different in topic, just a personal project, in order to practice the concepts and apply those and be ready to apply those as well in work um, and during the day to day. So that was my kind of methodology improve and learn those new concepts.
What I'm curious about is you mentioned this having to do other things besides work and study, and you mentioned sports. What sports are you into?
Actually, I've tried different things, but I don't know why. Few years ago, I started with a bit of boxing in a material way. So it is a sport that helps you, like throwing everything, the stress, the pressure as well,
Right.
out of your body. Was a way to regenerate myself. Also because it's very cardio based, and
Yeah.
you have to put in place a lot of energies, and at the end of the training, you're like drained, and
Yeah.
it was a way to, of course, it was a way to help myself, but it wasn't wasted, because it was a way also to find a more focus and balance. And I did try to manage, the schedule, in terms of, okay, today I have to do a bit of training, and maybe after that, if I have energy, I try to do 1 hour of course, maybe a simple lecture, maybe
Right.
without practicing, just watching something in those kind of days. Otherwise, if I had maybe the whole evening, of course, I was working at the time. I try to focus maybe 1 hour more, maybe 2 hours in the course, and repeating that for, again, 7 months, and that was my way to do it, and it worked. So
Nice.
uh,
Oh, I really like this emphasis on sport as well, because I see that in maybe some of the best developers that have some way of taking care of their body, so their mind is able to produce these outstanding results day after day. So it's maybe some topic that you don't find in the best books on programming, but it's very important to keeping yourself sharp and ready to go. And yeah, boxing is a really interesting choice. Like I I think of myself to have a good cardio um, fitness, but I tried a boxing bag a few times, and man, 30 seconds there seemed like an eternity. Like
yeah,
it's very effort demanding if you try to hit it hard. So
to eat it.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's an interesting choice. I know I read about some of the boxing strategies, and it's not just being able to throw punches, but it can get more tactical also
yeah,
after you advance. So yeah, it's an um, interesting
yeah.
choice. Um,
Yeah, and I think there is also an analogy with our work, with the strategy, as you said, because in boxing, but in a lot of sports, you have to do certain things, to certain strategies um, um, to put yourself in an advanced position regarding your opponent. For example, maybe
yeah,
if you are against the bag, you can do certain moves to put yourself again in a more proactive position or positive position. And I think that's similar to our job, because you need to have some weapons to tackle some challenges. Your bag needs to have multiple tools
yeah,
to tackle some challenges, and maybe some issues, some problems that in your day to day as a developer you may encounter. So I found that a great analogy that helped me. Boxing is not just about throwing punches, but it is as also
moving the legs.
moving, and then thinking about the strategy and doing stuff properly, counterattack, and that's it. So I found there an interesting analogy as well.
Yeah, it is. I
Mm,
keep being always ready, always
yeah.
uh, on your A game.
Yes,
Nice,
absolutely.
nice,
It is.
nice. So, looking back at some of the struggles we mentioned in the beginning, how do you feel that the program has helped you with these?
Well, I think in a lot of topics, first of all, the technical side, as already mentioned, helped me grow in terms of technical skills and knowledge, being able to land a new job, to succeed in interviews, as well as I already mentioned, to understand that to learn something you have to create a routine, some sort of rhythm to constantly improve. That I didn't. I think everyone knows that pretty much, but it is difficult to put in place
Put
and
in
to
place, yeah.
practice. So I was able to practice and understand that that's the way to improve and to learn new things. Um, and again, nothing specific more to add, but to just it helped me to reach the goal that I had before joining the program. So to to land to join a company, an international company, to start talking in English, because in my previous experiences I didn't mention that I was working in Italian. So I wanted to
Right.
also switch the language to open more positions to the choice I had. So not only working for Italian companies or companies that worked in Italian, but to the whole, let's say, European market of companies. So again, listening to the sessions in English and being able to interact with the community in English was a very plus to improve also there, not only technically
Yeah.
speaking.
Also, all these are great. I mean, yeah, definite areas where you need improvement. The one that surprised me the most was this language barrier that sometimes we have, and it's so true. Like I forgot about it for a while now. That most of these uh, strong big tech companies, they are English based, most of them. So by opening up your possibility of working in different languages, you also um, make yourself available for these companies as well. Whereas if you just maybe stuck in your native language, then you're kind of limited to what the like local companies can offer you. So that's a very good point that can actually just disqualify you from a lot of open positions just because you don't have the language skill. And it's usually not like you don't have to be a proficient English writer that can publish stuff in English without flawlessly, but just being able to have a minimum level of understanding and of expressing yourself is very important. So yeah, and I mean the more languages you can add to your belt, as we said, to your toolbox, the better. So
One more interesting thing about this possibility to explore more markets by just going into English, that is also pretty simple. And as you said, you don't need to be so expert on it. You just need to be a bit fluent, maybe just make yourself understandable. Is the fact that in this kind of international companies, you are facing um, a lot of different cultures and a lot of different skill sets. because if you work in your native country, you are going to work with pretty much the same ideas of work. And if you join an international company where there are lots of different people from different countries, you are going to face those different way of thinking development, or as well culture, maybe chit chatting and understanding different things that you maybe you wouldn't have been able to know. So that's also an interesting thing that I found out there. So
Yeah, totally.
and as well, maybe one last thing that I would like to mention are the mentoring sessions were also very important, because
Yeah.
maybe some of those weren't technically based, as you said, and not only the tech side is important, but maybe it was helpful, maybe some of those to help me succeeding in the interviews. So some of the mentoring sessions were about how to succeed, how to prepare your interview.
Yeah. Yeah, because
Maybe
it's a
I don't know.
skill.
Yeah, it is.
It's
So
not the same as just your day-to-day work. So to look good in an interview, you need to know a few things. And like you said, we have some mentoring sessions in the academy where uh, we mentored students to prepare for interviews, and yeah, they're super valuable. There's a lot of tips and strategies there to how to do it, and it makes all the difference. Um, okay, let's talk a bit about your career for the past year. First, you got that promotion inside your team to a tech lead position. So for the people watching us that are curious how you can achieve that, what would you tell them?
actually, therefore, the first promotion, of course, I was able in a very fast way to uh, to learn new things and to know more stuff, basically. So for that reason, in that specific period of time, there was a project for a client of the of my of the company at that time, and they've noticed this kind of improvement in terms of knowledge. Also, the client did. So they've decided to give me that kind of role. Actually, for a month, I've worked in that client as as a React native dev, because at the time that was the the needs of the client. But then after that, they've noticed that I had great skills, I had sharp knowledge, so they decided to give me the role as a tech lead, so trying to manage a small team. And that was in the same period I was following the iOS lead essential course, and there I've that kind of role for almost 4 or 5 months. Then the project ended, and in the same period as well, I was trying to do interviews with the companies we talked about previously, and I was able to change company
Right.
and to join where I'm now. So
Cool.
that's pretty much the story and the timeline. And of course, I switched from an hybrid language that I was able to learn pretty quickly, since it's pretty much about the syntax, but then the basic concepts are the same.
Understand. Yeah.
And then I was able to move back to iOS development, since
Native.
Before joining the React, the React position, I was working as an iOS developer, and I decided to go back to it because I liked it more and I had more experience in it. So one thing I focus on is to create an experience on a specific environment, because you can sell it easily as a skill, because when you want to join a company, I don't know if international or not, it is also important the number of years of experience in a certain environment and topic. So I've decided not to switch too much between React and iOS. So I've decided to stick to it, and right now I'm focusing on it, trying to build my skills there, and be valuable for the company.
Awesome. Yeah, what I would underline here is this thing that you mentioned, where some of the skills are transferable from, let's say, native Swift development to React Native or other forms of hybrid cross-platform development. So solid principles are the same on independent of the language, or building a CI pipeline or things like that. So those are super important, and I'm glad that you actually are proof that once you learn them, you can apply them in different contexts without too much friction. It's like you said, it's just a syntax that's different, and other than that, it's pretty much the same.
Of course, I've worked with people that had the same experience as me as an iOS developer, but as a React as a React person. And of course, in terms of syntax, they knew more than me, for sure. But at the end, if you have, like as you said, a broader knowledge, you can apply those concepts, as well as you know, maybe testing strategies. I could apply those also in React environment, and you have to just adapt. But yeah, absolutely, it's transferable, as you said.
How long did it take from finishing the program to seeing these results, like getting your promotion and job switch?
Actually, the first promotion happened, just after, it could be 4 months inside the program, and instead the job change happened after a year. But that was also a decision from myself. I wanted to focus at least for a year in studying and improving myself. I finished it at 7 months, but again, for more 5 months, again, I've studied by myself, practicing and applying those concepts. Maybe redoing the whole lectures by applying the concepts in a personal project. And yeah, after a year, I went into the the interview flows, and there I was able to change the job. It wasn't something that came at me, but I searched it at a specific time. So after a year, more or less.
What would you say are the main lessons learned, the main takeaways you got from the program?
The major lessons. For sure, testing is an important part of the development flow. That's very, very interesting. So as well, connected to, of course, the solid principles. It's regarding this topic, solid principles are very, very important to make your application scale, to modularize your application as well, to test your application and be more maintainable and secure as well.
Test automatically, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So that's of course one thing that I didn't know so well before joining the course. And of course, organize yourself, be well structured, put a goal on what you want to achieve. It's also something that I learned from the course. And yeah, be constant. Have a goal, and no matter what, try to train to learn new things. That's one of the most important thing. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Great.
absolutely.
How would you say your work-life balance has adapted now, or is this something that the program also impacted?
Yes, for sure. Previously, I was overworking a bit because also maybe the the way of working in previous experiences. With this new experience, there is a different mindset regarding the work-life balance and the way of working. So it is better to maintain the people inside the company healthy in terms of, also in terms of mind healthy, mental healthy, and yeah, that is something that highly improved where I am now, because it's more important to keep a great pace and work the right amount of hours without the so high pressure, because it won't pay it off at
Yeah.
scale for the future,
Yeah. It's not sustainable,
and
right?
it's not sustainable. Exactly.
It's like in a
Exactly.
marathon. If you start very fast for the first kilometers, there's no way you're gonna finish. So you gotta, like you
Exactly.
said, keep a steady pace, and it's gonna get you to the destination.
Exactly. That's it.
So any advice for the people watching today?
Well, of course, I can advise to jump into the program because for me it was a win. I would reinvest the money I invested on. Of course, there were the help of my company at that time, but it is worth it. And yeah, do not maybe accept the kind of, as we already said, the kind of standards and career tracks that some companies are sometimes forcing us,
Of course, yeah.
because it is better to choose with our own passion and head. And regarding reaching the goal, it is important to be hungry, to set a goal, and to strive to maintain a keep pace in order to learn new things bit by bit, instead of amount of stuff um, one day, and for the following 2 weeks doing nothing is not going to scale as well. So that's pretty much my advice.
I
Yeah,
like it. Keep a steady pace for everything you do. That's a
yeah,
lesson I will never forget.
yeah. Maybe one day you won't learn anything new, but at least you try to move forward.
Yeah.
And at scale is going to work, because maybe the following days you're gonna learn a lot of stuff. Uh, you don't have to stop once you find a struggle, or maybe feeling okay, I'm not learning anything.
Right.
That can happen. You know, it's the same thing in life.
Yeah. At least for me, this was a game changer when I discovered this. That going for the longer goal is definitely has more impact. So if I don't know, decide what works for me. So if it's, let's say, 15 minutes of study per day, if you do that constantly for a year, you get far further than doing 8 hours in a weekend, like you said, and then for 2 weekends nothing, and then maybe another weekend and stuff like that. It's just, it doesn't scale, like you said. So I always look for how can I do this constantly. So what's the amount I can afford? Is it 15 minutes? Is it 20 minutes? Is it an hour? If it's an hour, great. Maybe with investing in sports and something that gets your body moving, if it's an hour, then perfect. But even less, just finding that thing that works for you to be able to keep that constant pace. I really agree with what you said. For me, that was a big change in everything I do. So once I put my eye on something, I always like maybe reverse engineer, say, okay, how can I integrate this in my day-to-day schedule? So it's not like a one-time thing on Sunday or something. No, no, no. It's every day, and it for me this helps a lot. So great advice here for you. If there's anyone like a company or someone else wanted to reach you, how can they get in touch?
They can reach me at my LinkedIn. I'm called Riccardo Rossi. And yeah, there are a lot of links, useful links and descriptions, or way to contact me through email. So I'm also open to speak with anybody that has some doubts, or if I can help in some way. Maybe they are not so they have some doubts about joining the course or not. I can share my idea. That is pretty much what I shared today with Bogdan, but I'm very open to help,
Right.
and to give advices. No problem.
Yeah, or maybe just you can get a challenge for a boxing match on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, I think I will lose because I'm not so great, but
It should be fun. Okay.
yeah.
Joke aside, Ricardo, thanks a lot for being open to talk about your story today. I think we highlighted a lot of useful tips and strategies here. I thank you, and I wish you all the best in your career. I'm sure you'll be doing more incredible things in the future as well, as I see you're driven with the boxing mentality on. So
Yeah, thank you very much, Bogdan.
sure,
I hope the same for you, and for
thank you.
everybody that is watching us right now.
Yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much.
Just be
That's it.
hungry, right?
Yes, always, all the time. You have to be hungry. Yes.
Hungry mentally, so not physically.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you. And
Thank you.
for people watching, if you want to learn more, just visit us at essentialdeveloper.com, where you can find a bunch of free resources to improve your iOS dev skills. And you can also find us on the social channels like YouTube and more. Thank you and see you soon. Bye.
See you soon.